The Weaponsmith trade skill focuses upon the creation of weapons and weapon attachments, which serve as stat-boosting trinkets in your character pane. Weapons for every class can be crafted, from Stalker Claws and Warrior Greatswords to Engineer Heavy Guns and Esper Psyblades. The trade skill is tiered into Novice, Apprentice, Journeyman, Artisan, and Expert weaponsmithing, with each tier allowing for the creation of higher level items at the cost of higher level materials. Weaponsmithing schematics for the weapons themselves will require a set amount of ore, either iron, titanium, platinum, xenosite, galactium, etc., a certain kind of flux depending on the level of the weapon, and a power core. The ore can be obtained through mining, but you can also find ore from salvaged weapons and armor, and it can be purchased from the commodity exchange. The flux can be purchased from any Ucraft Express vend bot, usually found near crafting stations, and the power core can be purchased from different sources depending on its quality. A power core can be any quality, like other items, ranging from grey and weak to epic and very powerful. A stronger power core allows you to assign more stats to the item. You can buy a weak version of any of the power cores from the Ucraft Express vend bot, but stronger power cores can be found by salvaging armor and weapons and crafted by the Technologist trade skill. Weapon attachments will require similar materials, with ore, a power core, a bonding interface, and rare gems required to craft them. The bonding interface can be purchased at the Ucraft Express vend bot, and the rare gems can be found in rare mining nodes if you're a miner, salvaged rarely from weapons and armor, or purchased on the commodity exchange. Weaponsmiths can also create trade skill reagents for each tier of the trade skill, called condensers, which they can then use to create powerful weapons. At the maximum tier, Expert, the weaponsmith can also research the combination of powerful Elden data fragments, obtainable through a daily quest, to create powerful level 50 weapons. Additionally, the weaponsmith can create more trade skill reagents at the maximum tier. To level through a tier of weaponsmithing and unlock more schematics, the weaponsmith must look to their tech tree. Each tier of the trade skill has its own tech tree, and they do not overlap from tier to tier. Here, a tree of schematics is visible, and by mousing over each window in the tree, the weaponsmith can discover what weapons they have to create in order to fulfill the requirements of the particular window. For instance, a weaponsmith may need to create 4 of a standard weapon in order to unlock a more advanced version of that weapon. Slowly working one's way down the tech tree, a weaponsmith can eventually get rewards from crafting particularly powerful weapons, such as talent points. Talent points will be covered in a few moments, but these tech tree windows require the gathering of certain schematics from dungeons, reputations, or world drops. They're not necessary to level through the trade skill. There are 3 main sections of weaponsmith crafting for the purpose of the tech tree: forging, ballistics, and cam design. Each of these are separate on the tech tree and are not linked in any way. Forging relates to the creation of melee weapons, such as claws and greatswords. Ballistics focuses on the creation of ranged weapons, like spellslinger pistols, medic resonators, and Esper Psyblades. And CAM, or Combat Assist Module design, relates to the crafting of weapon attachments that any class can use. If a weaponsmith wanted to learn how to create the best ranged weapon for a tier, they'd have to create other ranged weapons near the top of the tree and work their way down. But if they then wanted to create a strong melee weapon or a weapon attachment, they'd have to begin at the top of the tech tree for that branch of the trade skill. The weaponsmith's talent tree provides small benefits towards their crafting. By gathering talent points, eventually the weaponsmith will gain access to different bonuses, depending on their preferences. Some examples include increasing the experience gained from crafting, reducing the chance of crafting failure, gaining additional crafting slots, or reducing the requirements of schematics. Talent points are gained by completing various tech tree window requirements, and the talent tree spans the entirety of the profession, not just one tier. Now, for actually crafting a weapon, the weaponsmith has access to a lot of customizability. When selecting an item one wishes to craft, a new window will open. Here, only one button is available: Start Craft. Once the weaponsmith pushes this button, the raw resources required are devoted towards creating the item and cannot be reimbursed. As the weaponsmith adds more materials towards the craft, they will also be devoted towards the creation of the item. The weaponsmith will have access to a circuit board-like interface at this point. On the left is the circuit board itself, where the customization happens, and on the right is where the final weapon's stats will be displayed. At the bottom is the power meter. When this power meter is full, the schematic will overcharge. The more a schematic is overcharged, the higher a chance of failure the crafting attempt will have. The circuit board consists of 2 main sections: the power core at the top, and the chips beneath it. The power core is essential for the craft, and the weaponsmith must click on the plus icon and then select a power core to devote to the item. The chips are what define the statistics of the item, and there will generally be 2 or 3 available, although there can be more. Each chip will have a preferred statistic, which will be based upon the colour of the chip's power line. Green for support-based stats, red for attack-based stats, and blue for health and tank-focused stats. One stat may be chosen randomly, and the rest the weaponsmith can choose themselves. By clicking on the plus icon, a small window of options will appear. Based upon the colour of the chip's power line, the window will suggest which of the 3 stat lines is the best match for the chip. By choosing one of these, the stats for that line will be increased. If the weaponsmith chooses a stat that does not line up with the preferred colour of the chip, then the stats will be reduced. The weaponsmith can only add one of each stat once to an item. For instance, if the weaponsmith wished to create a powerful damage-dealing weapon, their first stat could be brutality, but the second would have to be something else, such as critical strike chance, moxie, or finesse. Once the chip stats are chosen, then the weaponsmith can create the item and finish the craft. However, they may also, if they wish to improve the item, add charge to particular chips. This allows the weaponsmith to improve stats on the item, at the cost of increasing the power cost at the bottom of the window. It's generally a good idea to fill the power bar. If the weaponsmith does not, then they have wasted potential stats. The weaponsmith can also reduce the stats of a chip if they want more power for another, more important stat. Generally, once the power bar overcharges, there will be a 1% chance to fail, followed by an approximately 10% chance, then 20%, then it will skyrocket up to near 100%. One must make sure that they are careful to avoid failing the schematic. If they do this, the item will not be crafted and the resources will be lost. So those are the basics of the weaponsmithing trade skill in Wildstar. You can find more information about weaponsmithing on the wiki page this video is embedded on. If you're watching this on YouTube, then you can find a link to the wiki page in the description below. That's it for now. Thank you very much for watching.